If you are creating your own campaign or just looking to create a new non combat encounter within a campaign you're currently running, NPCs are pretty vital to that particular interaction. And you can kind of pick an NPC from maybe the adventure path you're going through, or you can create your own. And there are rules and guides to help you do that, including some in the Game Mastery Guide and in the GM Core that's going to be coming out pretty soon. So, with that, my name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. So, I thought I'd start by kind of going over what the Game Mastery Guide tells you about creating NPCs, and that starts on page 72, and I'll update it in the description once GM Core comes out. So, when you're designing non player characters, they are creatures that are closely tied to character classes, and they're meant to represent people rather than monsters. NPCs will generally undergo more scrutiny from the players regarding how they interact, what their mechanics are, and what they do, as players can really directly compare them to characters with similar roles, maybe in the party or that they've come across. Now, building an NPC does not require totally replicating another player character, but you can use class features and feats of a suitable class to choose what abilities you would like to give that NPC. And to determine an NPC statistics, you can consider the class proficiencies and ability modifiers, and there are class roadmaps on page 73 that provide pre-built roadmaps for core rulebook classes. Now, NPCs that are not going to follow a class structure, and that could be anything like in the book, they say a baker, but it could be a stonemason, or it could be a merchant, or it could be a guild master. Consult the NPC gallery on pages 202 through 249. And I also kind of wanted to show that in the Archives of Nethys, there is a page that does cover these same exact things, and it does have a chapter map as to the type of NPCs that you would like to go to. And once again, I will include this link in the description below. But you can compare these existing non-player characters to determine an NPC's level and suitable abilities. Now, just because you have a structure for these NPCs that are available in the NPC gallery doesn't mean that you can't also create new abilities that are needed to align with your particular non-player character's role in your specific story. These NPCs can be level -1 or level 0 and are simpler than a regular player character, so you don't have to put too much time into them, but you might want to make them a little bit unique. Now, NPCs of this -1 or level 0 are typically don't use many class features or features at all, or feats from the player character classes, and can often be adapted from the NPC gallery just with you reskinning them. So consider selecting NPC skills using proficiency ranks like a player character, but keep in mind you have some flexibility in the number of skill increases that you can give them. Skill-based non-player characters can have early access to expert, master, or legendary proficiency if it fits into your story, and they can also excel in specific areas of expertise, such as, from the book, engineering lore for a tinker NPC. So don't be afraid to give them abilities that you think that an NPC of their stature in your story would have. Now, not all non-player characters you're creating are going to be combat NPCs. So they do have a section on non-combat level. So an NPC's level reflects their combat abilities, where a common person, just a person out on the street, typically has a low level, indicating they are not a combat threat. NPCs with low combat levels can still pose challenges in non-combat encounters, often linked to specific areas of expertise and denoted as their non-combat level. A non-combat level can vary from the combat level, such as a 4th level barrister in legal matters, even though they might be a creature -1 in combat. Conversely, powerful combat creatures may not excel in social situations, particularly if they lack any proficiency in mental skills or diplomacy or society. Building a non-player character's non-combat level is straightforward. You would choose the desired level for the challenge and use skill numbers appropriate for that level, so you can compare the DC chart in order to try to ensure that this NPC will provide a particular challenge that you are seeking of the level that you want to the player characters. Some challenges, like social encounters, require a really high perception and will DC values, which should align with the non-player character's non-combat level. Experience points are also rewarded for overcoming challenges that these non-combat NPCs would pose, and they are dependent upon how the party deals with them. If you're defeating an NPC in their specialty, it will award experience points based on their non-combat level, while physical combat yields experience points based on the creature level. So that would be kind of your deciding factor on how to give experience points on the non-combat level or the combat level. And as a GM, just remember that in some cases, overly aggressive actions may result in no XP at all and a failure in the player character's objective. If you are, in the example from the book, if you are doing a baking contest, attacking a fellow baker can lead to disqualification and legal consequences. Then there is another style, which is called a player character style build. So when you're building an NPC using player character rules, aim for them to be an appropriate challenge at their level, with some stats potentially lower than creatures that are rule-built non-player characters, but they will have more versatility due to feats and class features that these player character style builds won't have if you were just doing pure non-player character rules. This approach is best suited for significant recurring non-player characters, especially those involved in social or exploration aspects that go beyond battles, because in combat, it's pretty easy to see what skills an NPC will have, but if this person really needs to interact with the player characters, it might be best to have a more fleshed out skill tree and feats and things that they can use. Now that you kind of have an idea of the type of non-player character you're going to build, there are some considerations to take and shortcuts that are noted in the Gamemastery guide. First of all, adhere to the treasure for new character rules on page 510 of the core rulebook when determining the non-player character's wealth, which might require adjusting the campaign's overall treasure. Because if they do defeat this particular NPC, well, then the player characters are going to be getting this treasure. Consider giving the NPC a higher level item as part of their treasure allotment. You can expedite ability score generation by ensuring the starting ability modifiers total +9, with at most one modifier at +4, and typically one negative modifier, which is a slight departure from a pure player character. You can skip adding a background in this case, but consider assigning 2 skills, including one lore skill, to represent what their background should be. If you go back to that baker example, maybe they should have bakery lore and crafting. You don't need to assign every skill feat, especially for higher level non-player characters. Focus on the most relevant ones as they fit into your story and skip the rest. Consider granting the NPC general feats like incredible initiative and toughness. And you can follow most of the spell selection guidelines, but include more utility spells for non-combat challenges, especially in lower level spell slots. And you could do more combat spells for combat challenges. Now, if I have a very specific type of non-player character in mind, there might be a different shortcut I would take, and that would be I would look at creatures. Now, having the access to all the bestiaries can be a little bit imposing, but I do have a little hint for that, or a little tool that I like to use, and that would be the Path Builder Encounter Builder. So I like going to the Path Builder Encounter Builder and look at other creatures that might work. Like, for example, in the campaign we're creating, we have Andre Igush, who in my selling of the story was the gang leader. Well, there is a gang leader template. There is a gang leader creature, and it is level 7. You can go ahead and take a look at the stat block on Path Builder Encounter Builder, and you can see what they would have, what their scores would be, and you can take this as a base in order to kind of create your creatures and expand upon it so you have at least these initial skills, initial spells, initial feats, initial actions that they can do kind of locked in stone while you build a backstory, and you can substitute, remove, or add skills or abilities as you decide what you would like to do with them. You can go to a clean encounter with nothing in there, and let's say you would like to create a humanoid. So you could select humanoid, and it would only bring up all the creatures that are humanoid. Then you could select whatever level you wanted. We'll say we want someone between 3rd and 4th level. So these are all the humanoids that are in the bestiaries that are between 3rd and 4th level. And you can go ahead and select, and maybe a burglar is what you want. You can go ahead and see their stat block over here and know what they could do and decide, well, this might be the one that I could build my NPC off of. Now, I do hope this video gave you some ideas for what you could do trying to build your NPCs. There are a bunch of really good rules in the Game Mastery Guide, as well as great options and great things to look at if you actually look at some of the creatures that are already developed of who you might branch off of in order to create an NPC. And when GM Core comes out, we might have more options. I don't know yet. However, I'm going to go ahead and include all those links in the description below. And if you like this video, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. But whatever you do, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.